My next guest is someone who Seahawk fans will be seeing and hearing a lot from this preseason. Kate Brown is a sports broadcasting veteran. Currently, she's the voice of the Philadelphia 76ers, but later this summer, she'll be doing preseason TV play-by-play for the Seahawks, the first woman ever to hold that job for the franchise. And she told me that she can't wait to get started.
Tell the Seahawks fans out there, all of us, how you're cramming the Seahawks. How does that
Oh my
look?
goodness. Well, let me tell you, out of all the sports, preseason football is probably the stupidest thing you could agree to call, if we're just being honest with each other, because there's obviously so many dudes on a football team during the regular season, but there's 90 on each team during the preseason. But again, I wouldn't be here if I didn't love a challenge. So the Seahawks are wonderful. They send me emails every day about what's being written in the Seattle Times, what was on King 5 today. So I'm watching and reading. Michael Robinson, who's going to be in the booth with me, we've already started communicating over email, getting set to see what we want to talk about. But this is my favorite part, actually, of calling sports, is the preparation.
So I was going to ask you how you decided to kind of detour to football since you're the 76ers. Was it just the call that made you want to do that?
If you get a call about NFL football, you pick it up and you say, heck yes. But actually not really a detour, because that was actually the first sport I ever called way back in the day. I think almost 12 or 13 years ago now. High school football in the Bay Area was the first sport I called, and then called it in college and was actually calling a national college football package with Mike Golick Sr. when I got the call from the Sixers. So I've been doing football forever, and I'm really excited actually to get back to it, since I've been so focused on basketball the last plus 2 years.
I love that you started in high school. So what did you love about play-by-play then, and what do you still love about it now?
Gosh, play-by-play is as close to all the feelings and emotions I used to have as an athlete, even though it was way back in high school the last time I played sports. But the intense preparation that you put in all week long when nobody's around and you just have to motivate yourself, give yourself a reason to keep going. Then on game day, the nervous energy you felt leading up to the kickoff or tip-off, and then that rush once the game actually gets started. You know, I've reported, I did sports anchoring, I've written, I've done all the things, and I love all of them for different reasons. But play-by-play is as close to all of those feelings I had as an athlete. And then regardless of all the preparation, it's 2.5, 3, 4 hours of live television or radio. So you just got to go and hope that the preparation pays off. So
I'm hearing the rush in your voice.
Can you tell I get a little bit excited?
Right, that athletes get, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, sports broadcasting is such a male-dominated sport. How did you crack in?
One kick at a time, as I like to say. There was people often ask me, what was the big game-changing moment for you? And I said, well, it's been about 100 little steps, but I was asked to host, so I went to Cal, UC Berkeley, and after I graduated, they asked me to host the post-game football show on the radio. So did that. And then the sports radio stations in the Bay Area were like, okay, well, she sounds like she knows sports. Maybe we should hire a chick. So then I was the first woman hired to do radio full-time in the Bay Area. And that led to me being asked to be a sideline reporter for the MLS team and the San Francisco Giants minor league baseball team. And then I started calling sports for, as I said, high schools. And then the Pac-12 network called. So it's been one step after another, one kick after another, because at every step, and I knew that this was going to be the case. What does she know? Why does she want to do this, right? In our society, we, for some reason, assume men know sports, and we assume that, well, women need to prove it to us. And that is still the case. And I knew that coming in, and I've accepted that challenge every step of the way. I'm sure some Seahawks fans are feeling that way. So I look forward to proving it to them like I have at every step before.
I like that you said that question of what does she know, because you're right. That isn't a question typically asked of a man. What does he know? Even if the man's never been an athlete or played a sport professionally or otherwise.
And that's the wild thing. And I've started saying it when I talk to classes. I love mentoring the next generation. But we're all born with the same amount of sports knowledge, which is absolutely nothing. Just like every other subject, math and science, we learn it. And we all learn for different reasons, but I grew up a sports nut, was always sitting next to my pop on the couch watching sports. So it was like I was kind of destined to do this without realizing it, because there were so few women doing it when I was a kid, when I was coming up. But now here we are.
You're like the Swiss Army knife of sports broadcasting, right? The NBA, the NFL, Olympics. What makes you want to have such a broad spectrum?
Well, I get bored easily. That's one thing. And I love all the different sports, so it's always hard for me to pick one. But I also find that each has a different rhythm and pacing and strategy and different vocabulary. And I learn a different thing about myself as a broadcaster, calling each different sport. And then I like to sit back and say, okay, what did I learn from this match or this game? And how can I then apply it to the other sports that it fits with? Obviously, vocabulary doesn't always translate. You don't say touchdown when you're calling basketball, right? You don't say goal when you're calling football. But there are different things I learned to do with my voice, with my pacing, with laying out, which is a huge thing in television, letting the pictures do the talking.
Right.
And it's also extremely important for me to open as many doors and minds for the next generation coming up behind me. So because I love all these sports, I'm sure that there's some girl or some guy that doesn't look like the people who've been calling sports before who absolutely loves football, and they want that to be the one sport they call. So if me doing this with the Seahawks, hopefully for a long time, not just this year, can open that door for them when they're ready, then hey, bring it on.
In addition to being a woman in this man's sport, you're also part of the LGBTQIA plus community.
Yeah.
How have you seen representation matter?
Representation is so important. I came out to my parents 20 years ago now. And when I did, my mom started crying. And I thought, crap, I thought she knew. And she said, yeah, Kate, I knew you were gay. But I just want to reflect this to you, sweetie. You're already trying to be a woman in sports broadcasting. And this was really early 2000s, 01, 02. And now you're telling me you're going to try to be a gay woman in sports broadcasting? Name one gay person, not a woman, just man or woman, who's out in the sports industry right now. And I paused and I couldn't think of one. And that's why I'm out, because I want the next generation, when they're having those conversations, for the parent or the guardian not to have to ask their child that. And if the child is looking for someone to look up to, they can say, Nate Scott is freaking crushing it. So I know that I can be me as long as I'm good at what I do and prepared and kind. It doesn't matter who I am. They're going to give me a shot.
I have a crush on Kate Scott, and she could be the reason why I'm going to watch those games. Well, you can watch Kate call all 3 Seahawks preseason games airing right here on King 5. The Hawks will kick things off against the Vikings at Lumen Field on August 10th, then face the Cowboys on the 19th. The team will then travel to Lambeau Field to take on the Packers on the 26th.